to yet another episode of Rise and Thrive. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about securing the bag. And when I mean securing the bag, I don't mean your Gucci bag, but I actually mean the financial bag. And on today's episode, I have a guest. I consider him a financial expert because I've interacted with him on so many levels and I've seen his wealth of experience as regards financial investment. And I thought it would be nice to have him come share his knowledge with us. It's no other person than my wonderful guest, John Chukwuka. Hi, John. Welcome.
Hi, Joyce. Thank you very much.
Rise and Thrive.
Thank you very much. I love what you're doing here. I love the vision behind this podcast.
Thank you.
And thank you for inviting me as a guest today to talk about finance. Finance is something I'm very passionate about. I have a bachelor's in finance, and my goal actually is to help people stay 10 steps ahead of the game when it comes to finance, right? To make sure that, because there are, I see myself as somebody who preaches the gospel of the whole person, right? So you are trying to, in the pyramid of life, you are trying to arrange your physical, you're trying to arrange your mental, get ready with your, all areas, and then your finances, right? Which kind of powers and influences every other area, right? So that's how I see myself, and I'm thankful for this opportunity to kind of share that message with your audience.
Oh, thank you so much, John. And one of the things that actually made me want to invite you, because the first time I met you, you were just a very simple looking person, and then we got talking, and I know how passionate you were about talking about financial investment and why it's important that we invest as young people. And since someone of your age being so keen and knowledgeable about the financial world, it really caught my interest that you're somebody I really wanted to keep as a friend because of the wealth of knowledge that you had.
Thank you.
So talking about finance, so what was it? How did you get to build yourself to that level? Because I know so many financial investment that you have, and to think that somebody of your age has so much investment. So what was it? How did you get to build yourself to that level? And how have you been able to sustain it over the years?
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your wonderful words. How did I get to this level? Back home in Nigeria, we normally say that it takes a village, right, to raise up a child, right? We are being influenced on a daily basis by our nature and nurture, right? So I grew up in a family. My dad was into real estate. My dad was also into business, and he did very well in both. Within his time and with his peers, right? He did very well, right? So one thing that started shaping my ideology around finances when I was quite little was seeing how my dad managed his finances. The Bible will always say that we should train a child the way he should go, that when he is old, he will not depart from it, right? So I was part of the property management team for my dad. He would send me out to go collect rent. But one thing really struck me down deep was one day my dad sent me to go collect rent from one of his tenants, and I went there, knocked on the door. The man was so happy playing with his kids, and they were all happy, and I knocked on the door. I was like, "Hello sir, my dad asked me to come collect rent." And I saw the change in the man's face from the happy mood to this sober, reflective mood on his face, and I was like, I want to be like my dad. That particular experience, is actually the driving factor. I don't want to be like that man for any reason. I want to be at a place where I'm able to control assets that bring in constant value, that bring in constant monthly money to the family. And the other one was, at some point in time, my dad had to quit his business, right? And when he did that, there wasn't, from himself, he didn't have the capacity and the time and the health to invest in his business again, which was actually one of the primary things that were sustaining our family as of that time. So when my dad quit his business, I now saw my dad was still able to maintain his lifestyle and maintain the family and maintain the expenses in the house because we were able to collect monthly rent from people, and that was how we were able to maintain our lifestyle. So when I came to United States and I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, that was it for me. I was like, this is what my dad was doing, this is what this man was teaching, this is the lifestyle I'm going to live. So, and I've been running with that vision since then.
Oh, no, that's really great. Talking about your dad and the influence he had on you, it reminds me of the story of Abraham and Isaac. And Abraham had passed on. If you look at Genesis 26, Abraham had passed on, and Isaac was in a land where there was famine, and he was thinking of actually leaving, but God told him to stay there. And said Isaac sowed in that land, and he reaped 100-fold. And some of those things Isaac put into place were the things he learned from his father Abraham. So it's really important as parents that we inspire our children to begin to make financial decisions early, so that as they grow, they're able to stabilize and also be able to make those decisions on their own without having to rely on the family and be able to walk through life comfortably, because that experience of your dad asking you to always go collect money from your tenants really built you, not just for the fact that you were working for him, but it gave you that mental maturity to be able to see, okay, this is how money is being made, and this is how you manage wealth, and that's a really impressive one.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that you had that experience. So one thing that I was going to ask you was what are some of the most common mistakes that people make when it comes to managing their finances and balancing their lifestyle? Like, you know, we're currently in this world now, in this Gen Z era, where everybody live for the moment. You're like, enjoy your life, like live for now. But how do you balance like living for now and enjoying yourself and then saving for the future?
That's an interesting question. How do you balance everything? You know, when I first started this podcast, I told you something about the whole person, right? I advocate the concept of the whole person, and that is the concept of balance. You have to make sure that every facet of your life is balanced. And for you to achieve that equilibrium, we have to get down deep. Let's just do a granular, microscopic examination of your finances. How do you balance? Now, the word is balance. Most people do not understand, especially one of the mistakes that a lot of people make is the dangers of credit card. They don't understand the impact that a credit card does to your finances. People like me, I use credit card and they pay me. I don't pay credit card money. I don't do that.
How do you do that?
There's something called cashbacks. And there are credit cards that you are going to sign up. They tell you, okay, we are paying 1% cashbacks and all that, right? You make sure that at the end of the month, when you are done using your cards and all that, that you pay the money that you use. Because credit cards, they're actually loans. They are loans. The banks, Capital One, Discover, they are giving you loans to be able to fund whatever you want to fund, right? And at the end of the day, you are expected to, in business terms, we call it net 30. In business term, I have a business. Sometimes when I buy for my suppliers, they give you a net 30, meaning that you are expected to pay back in 30 days, right? So in credit card business, when they give you loans, you are expected to pay back in 30 days. If you don't pay back, then interest starts accruing. You have to now pay back with interest. And credit cards, they charge you 17%, depending on your credit score, right? They charge you from 11% to up to 21%. Why would you be working and paying somebody 21%? So what I do is I use the credit card and I pay back, right? And they now give me cash back. There was a month I got up to $42 in cash back, from one credit card company, right? So people have to reevaluate attitude towards debt. America is a great country. When you think about this country, there might be around, okay, don't put me in this, but there are more credits in circulation compared to physical cash that are in circulation.
No, that's true, actually.
Yeah. So because of that, people are more prone to getting loans and getting credits to finance some of the things that they are financing. Number one is that do not get a loan to finance things that are depreciating in assets. Things that are depreciating in value, I mean to say. Don't go and get a loan. And that's what majority of the credit cards do. That's why they are sending you mails. Hey, would you... Exactly what they are telling you is that, hey, Joyce, would you come and be indebted to us? Robert Kiyosaki said that make sure that somebody is paying you interest and not you paying somebody interest. So when you have to start thinking in that reverse psychology as opposed to what all these credit card companies are pushing to you, you start seeing that money is actually a game. Sometimes you have to learn to play offensive and other times you have to learn to play defensive. And when it comes to debt, you have to learn to play the defensive game. So number two is that people should learn to live within their means, right?
Sorry to cut you there. Talking about credit card, I remember when I first came to America and I had the whole idea of credit card. I was a student. I was so excited, and then I collected my first credit card, and I think Discover gives you like 1,750. Do you know, on that moment I was just swiping, buying anything I see. Oh yeah, I like this. Before I know it, in 2 months I finished 1,750. And then I was like, okay, so what happened? Because I know that usually they'll tell you that, oh, you have 0 APR for 6 months.
Right.
And then they now start paying the minimum, right? So I started paying the minimum. I think the minimum there for me was like about $35. So I started paying the minimum. I was feeling good until somebody sat me down and was like, what's your credit score? I'm like, what's credit score? She was like, your credit score. I was like, I don't know what the credit score is. She was like, when you collect a credit card, it's what they call credit score that you build. And then I was like, oh, okay. And my first credit score came. I'm shy. I can't tell you what it was bad.
Right.
And I had to go speak to a financial analyst who told me that, no, you don't do this and this is how you have to do it. And that was how I was able to, at a go, I cleared the entire money. Because I didn't really understand. And most people sometimes, they genuinely do not know how to make use of these things, and that's why I created a platform like this where people could get to learn, and like you're talking about it today, someone somewhere is watching and be able to get it. So I didn't know about that, how to make good use of your credit card, and after that experience I became very, very cautious. So I really like the fact that you really hit on the fact that you need to play offensive and defensive sometimes in your finance, and that wasn't a good way to learn actually, because in America there's nothing like I'm sorry or ignorance, like I did not know. But yeah, like I said earlier, that was a really good one that you touched on that fact, and you're going to say something else. Right.
In addition to what you said, and I want your viewers to understand this, that money is a game. When you think about it that way, it actually removes the ambiguity about money, right? It's a game, right? There will be a time when you are going to be in the field playing the game, right? You are offensive, defensive, you are actually the player inside it, right? Now, there is going to get to a point in your life, if you play your game very well, you are going to be like the person who owns the team that plays those games, right? So this is how I see money, because right now, even though you are now the owner, you still have the fundamental understanding of what offensive strategies and defensive strategies mean. Because every team, I'm a Manchester United, fan, right? You have to be very good with defense and offense, or else you can be very good with offense and people will score you 10 goals as much as you are good with offense, right? So you have to be good with it. So with credit cards, you have to be wise about it, right? So some of them might attract you with that 0%, APR for 15 months and all that. You just have to use your sense sometimes, because, okay, this is what happened. There was one credit card that I got. They were giving $750 if you spend like, I think it was either 5,000 within a period of 6 months or thereabout. Do you know that time I was doing house renovation around that time? So I bombarded provided that credit card. I packed everything inside the credit card. At the end of the day, they gave me that 700. Now, the thing is that I actually have the money to pay that.
True.
Right? So I utilized the 750, paid down the credit, and wiped out the other one that remains.
Wow.
So you have to use your sense very well, you know. So in addition to that, I want to talk about living within your means, right? There is a lifestyle for everybody, you know. Even though we want to live the best lifestyle for us, but there is a lifestyle that your finances can accommodate to where you are currently. It might mean that you don't have to go rent an apartment of 4,300 a month. It might mean that you have to scale down to an apartment of 900. When I was in school, we were 4 dudes inside a 2-bedroom house in Tulsa. And that my monthly bills was $216 every month, just rent alone, because we had to split down everything. You know, so just understand that there is a life that you can live at that particular level of your finances, but do not stop there. Remove the lead on your thinking. Remove the lead on your finances. Believe that you can actually earn more and start doing your research, you know. So another thing is that people do not invest, or rather, some of them don't know how to invest, because investment brings in a lot of risk. Right? It brings in a lot of risk, and if you don't know how to play the game very well, you don't know, right, what is your risk strategy. Because in school we were taught that risk versus return, the more risk you take, the more return is going to come back to you, right? So when you look at your risk appetite, you see, okay, perhaps I like real estate investing, or I like stock market, or I like this, or I like that. But most people don't know. They don't know those things. They instead pack their money inside a savings accounts, or even some of these Chase Bank accounts and all those companies that pay 0.1%, you know. And that's a very bad strategy, you know. So you have to learn how to invest for the future. A portion of what you make today, belongs to your future. And for the people who borrow, you are actually borrowing against your future. If you borrow 5,000 today, you are borrowing against your future. At some point in the future, you are going to pay that 5,000 back. You know, so you have to understand, and you also have to change your strategy with every life event that happens to you. If you get a new job, do not increase your spending. If you lose a job, re-strategize. Figure out what would work at this particular level that you are in, right? So that's an advice, and these are some of the dream killers, you know, financial dream killers that some people have.
Wow, thank you so much for that. I think I've learned 1 or 2 from that. I was going to ask you another question. So, how do you recommend people prioritize their financial goals, such as paying up debt? You already highlighted that already, but I want you to go in depth. How do you think somebody who has accrued so much in debt as regards to their finances, how can they offset these things? What do you think could be a viable plan that they could put in place in order to make sure that they don't make these mistakes again and they rescue themselves from what they found themselves in already?
So, I mean, there is a guy out there called Dave Ramsey. He teaches about, you know, paying off debt and everything. While I do not agree 100% with his teachings about debt, he agrees, he teaches that all debt is bad, but I don't agree with that fact, right? I believe that there are good debts and there are bad debts. So, given that understanding, I'm assuming that you're asking about bad debt, right? The debts that people have to, you know, kind of finance and pay for on a monthly basis, right?
Yeah.
So, number 1 is that it starts from within, right? What is your approach to loans? What is your approach to debt? You understand? So for a very long time, my approach to debt is that I do not carry any balance in any of my credit card. So at the end of the month, I don't care what it is, but I have to pay out that credit card. I have to make sure that the balance is 0. That is my approach. This is how I approach all credit cards, because I see them as loans. I see them as debt, right? So you have debt, you have retirement, you have investment. How do you prioritize? I would say in finances, we were taught that your rate of return on the loans that you have, right, is actually the interest you are paying on that loan, right? So if somebody is charging you 10%, right, for a loan of say $100, right, and you know that the money you have to pay the person on top of that is everything will be like $110, right, including the interest rate. Now, your rate of return, your interest on that is that $10, right? Assuming you invested the money. So I would teach people to actually clear your debt first and come to a neutral ground and then strategize how to face the future. Because when you don't pay your debt, right, it's almost like it drags you backwards. Like you are making money, but you are still, especially when you said something about paying the minimum. You don't pay the minimum in all those credit cards. No, you clear all the debts. Because these guys, they have calculators, they have everything. And what they are doing is that they are giving you suggestions based on their own best interest. How to make the most out of the money that they lent to you. Right? So you don't pay the minimum, you pay the balance, pay everything. And do not go and borrow the money that you don't have. Any borrowing that you are getting should be for investing in a business or an idea that will make you money. If at all you have to borrow, it must have to be investing in a business or idea or an asset that will make you money. So I will teach people to first of all pay off your debt first. When you pay off your debt, and then you can come and say, okay, what are my risk appetites? How do I approach all these investments that are out there, right? And also, there has to be something very concrete. I don't know about you, Joyce, but deep down within me, I hate poverty. Deep down,
I don't want to suffer too. Like, see, I hate that whole poverty. Like, I really don't want to experience my life.
It's not just for me.
Because
God did not create me like that. I mean, look at the universe that God created. Everything is filled with abundance. Everything is superfluous, right? There is no such shortage of oxygen. There is no shortage of anything around the world. Everything is in abundance. How much water do we need on this earth? Why the whole earth is covered by 70% of water?
Very true.
Right? So I want to think like my father. I want to behave like my father. When it comes to my finances, God promised that He's going to fill all of our needs and then give you some to be able to meet to other needs that are out there. This is the promise of God for you and I. Right? So having said that, I believe so much in investing for the future. I believe so much in retiring early and giving time to your family. And that is something that is lacking. I believe that that's the message God has given me for this generation. You can actually retire early and give more time to the nurturing of your children. I don't know where or what I would have been doing by now, but it was my dad that was sowing this seed at some point in time. And then when I saw him at retirement, I told myself, I'm not going to retire at the age my dad retired. I'm going to retire very early. And retiring very early, by that I mean getting off of 9 to 5. That is what I mean by retirement. So let me clarify that. Getting off of 9 to 5. Because retirement right now is like a buzzword for dying. Like, you know, because that's the narrative the government have they have painted out there. You know, they painted that, oh, you retired 59 and a half, retired 65. And then what next? People spend the majority of their working years, majority of their active years working. You spend like 30, 35, 40 years giving your time to somebody else on daily basis. What about you? What about your ideas? What about the dreams that God has given you? What about traveling the whole world? experiencing these things with your wife and your family? What about leaving a legacy for your children? These things require time also.
True. And money.
And money too.
Money.
So that's why you have to get wise with your finances.
Yeah.
That's why you have to get smart with your finances. So how do you balance? Get off of loans, get off of all those things. The only loan that you should have is the loan that makes money for you. And after that, you have to start saving. You have to start saving. There are plenty of online bankings out there that are super great. Ally Bank is one of them. Discover, it's one of them. And these banks, they are giving like 3 point something to 4 point something interest rate. So you can actually be earning 3 point something or 4 point something. To give you a view of that, if you have like $100 in the account, 3% will be around $3, you know. That's what they're going to be paying you on a yearly basis. That is better than some of these other banks like Chase Bank that pay 0.01%, right? So start saving, and from there, start educating yourself how you can be an investor, how you can be a business owner. There are several ways we can make money. It's either you are making money through your W-2 or you are making money as an investor. An investor, you can invest in a business, or you are making money passively from real estate deals and some other businesses.
Okay, well, that was really nice, because like I like the way you actually took on these answers, because before we talk about people investing, because we're talking about financial investment, before we talk about people investing, we need to talk about how you need to get off debt first. So I know before you can say, oh, you need to invest. Someone who doesn't have debt that cannot talk about investing. So we cannot just jump in and start talking about investment where you still have debt you have accrued. So it's good we really touch so much on how people can manage the debt. Yeah. Like you said, we have good debt and we have bad debt. Right. And so for bad debt, he has really shed so much light on how you can get that away from the way. And now that we have talked about how we can take away bad debt, so now let's talk about financial investment. Okay. And the question I was going to ask you that what are the different types of financial investment that individuals can consider investing in order to be able to ensure long financial goals. So what do you think are areas that people can invest in and that can actually turn out on returns? Because even as much as we talk about taking away the debt, we need to talk about where you can now put your money. The money you save, where can we put it that can yield you the long-term financial gains that can help you live that life that you actually want to live? Like you talked about retiring after a particular time from 9 to 5 and then focusing on spending more time with family and enjoying the wealth that you have built over time. So what are the areas that people can invest in and they can get yields on their returns and they can be able to enjoy that life that they actually want to live?
Thank you very much for that question. So I call those things investment vehicles, right? And what is the idea of vehicle? A vehicle is something that transports you from point A to point B, right? So in this world that we live in, there are vehicles, different forms of vehicles. They come in different rounds, in different forms, and in different manners, right? So investment vehicles, what are these? Number one, you have the famous one, the stock market. You also have the bond market. You have the certificate of deposits. You have the real estate. In real estate is broad, right? What else? You have the crypto, and then you have life insurance, which is also an investment vehicle. But now, I'm gonna step back a little bit, right? Before we talk about vehicles, we have to talk about your risk appetite, right? Now that you have the money, how do you want to play the game of investments, right? So the risk appetite of somebody who is 45 years is different from somebody who is 25 years because of the time factor. So in the world of finance, we call there's something we call the time value of money, right? So the time value of money states that if I have 1 million in my hand today, it is better for me than having 200,000 every 5 years. right? Because I can do so much with that 1 million at hand.
And by that 5 years, it has become something profitable.
Exactly. So I can do so much with that. So now, if somebody gives you 1 million, what is your risk appetite? How would you approach the concept of what vehicle would you enter if somebody gives you 1 million? So it comes down to your education. I don't go around teaching people all this stuff. No, you have to educate yourself. You have to go. I have spent time to educate myself about real estate, about stock market, about IUL. You know, sometime last year I bought like 3 books. I was reading about life insurance. You know, so this is what I would suggest, right? I have studied how the white people transferred wealth in this country. I've watched a lot of documentary. I'm a student of finance, right? And I'm also a student of leadership. These 2 things drive me. Whenever I see both of them discussed, I keep quiet and I learn. A lot of white people have transferred a lot of wealth to their generation by using life insurance, by using real estate. These 2 vehicles, if you want to get good with the game of finance, I suggest that you learn them.
True. That's a very good way. Say life insurance and real estate, and I really want, especially the African community, to really take into cognizance these 3 things here as I highlighted, because a lot of Africans are actually not knowledgeable about life insurance. Talking about life insurance, I really didn't know how important life insurance was, because you know, in Africa, when you talk about life insurance, people are like, God forbid, are you waiting for me to die?
Yeah.
Hey, so like you kind of like run away from those things, but these things are really important, and I really like the fact that I'm seeing a lot of young Africans begin to talk about how important it is to invest in life insurance. So please, could you put more light on the life insurance and the real estate as you were actually highlighting?
Right. So there are investment vehicles that I'm currently pursuing. I am pursuing life insurance. So assuming anything happens to me, I have already planned for a wealth transfer that is going to go into my family and go into my family members, right? Because even though people still have the reaction to the buzzword life insurance, but you are only looking at it from one perspective. Remember, a pyramid has several sides to it.
Yeah.
While it reflects a light, there are also other lights that the pyramid is also reflecting, right? So you are reflecting to the bad side of life insurance, but you're not looking at the better side of life insurance, what it can offer you.
True.
I know somebody, this particular individual, got cancer, right?
Wow.
And because of the type of life insurance the person had, he was able to actually pay him money. This one is called living benefits. So technically, you don't have to die to be able to tap into the benefits of that life insurance.
I'm really surprised that I just got to find about that 2 weeks ago. I heard about it 2 weeks ago, and I was like, really? And you talking about it now really comes to mind. And
Right.
yeah, that's really true.
Right.
So you don't actually need to die
Yes.
before you can actually
You don't have to
accept
die.
the
So
quote.
just like we are talking about risk, right? Life insurance is a risk methodology that is called risk transfer, right? Because this is a risk, right? And we don't know if it's going to happen or if it's not going to happen, right? So we are taking that risk off of our life and transferring it to the insurance company. And because of that, we now pay them something called premium on monthly basis because of the risk that they are assuming for us. So if anything happens to you, these people, they are bound by their contract to respond and to pay you that money, right? So this person was able to use that money, pay off the loans that he has on his house, and was able to take care of himself. So the life insurance that I got, if anything bad happens to me, they're going to pay me 30,000 per month.
Wow.
What can that do? What can 30,000 per month do to you as a person? At least think about it. It removes that financial burden or whatever. You understand? And there are people whose wives or husband have died. Joyce, have you researched on how much it costs to bury somebody in America?
I heard it because before I actually came, I used to see people put GoFundMe. I was like, they have a sibling who died, they need GoFundMe, and I was like, why are you putting a GoFundMe to bury somebody who died? And when I came to America, I found out like, it's really, really expensive to have somebody buried.
It's super expensive, and that's why a lot of people are going the route of cremation, right? Because with cremation, the cost is quite low, right? But to bury somebody comfortably in this country, a casket you're looking at 15,000, 10,000 just for the box that you're going to put in the person. And you have to, because you can't bury in Nigeria, we can bury inside your house, but you can't do that here. You have to go to a cemetery where there is designation and buy and rent. Some people rent a space to bury somebody. Some people buy the whole grave, and then they will tell you the cost. Now think about it. If your potential partner dies or your husband dies and there is no life insurance, what pressure are you putting on those people? You are leaving a whole lot of debt for them, and they don't know how to manage that moving forward, because by the time your husband or wife brings out 20,000 for your burial alone,
they're angry.
This is somebody who is already mourning.
You feel like you want to take the cups and just throw it.
Exactly. Why God has promised us a long life, we should always be smart about how we deal with finances. So get good with life insurance. It has to be a whole section where you talk about, you potentially have to bring your friends, Chima and the rest. We'll sit down together and talk about life insurance, and then you have to start learning about real estate. Real estate has made more millionaires in this country more than any other industry or any other sector. And it's a business, it's a sector that have been tried, tested, and proven. Real estate is everywhere. We are here. We are using a space. Somebody is making this space available for us. When you came to Dallas, every human being on earth needs a roof over their head. Nobody wants to be homeless. Nobody wants to associate with that. And now, this is where the industry of real estate comes in, providing the value for people, providing roof over people's head, right? So there are several strategies in real estate you now have to study. There is apartment investing, there is single family home investing, there is what is it called, where you buy like old houses and you refurbish them and then you put them in the market. Then you can rent a house. You can actually buy turnkey properties. Turnkey properties are properties that are new, that don't need any renovations or anything. You buy turnkey properties and put tenants in there. And then in real estate, there's something called appreciation and depreciation. That's how you make money in real estate. Let's just take, for instance, I'm going to compare this real quick, how real estate is better than the stock market, right? I invested 100,000 in stock market. I can only make money in one or two ways. In stock market, you can make money by buying dividend yielding shares. So, assuming you bought Coca-Cola and they tell you that they are paying $3 per share in their stock. That means for every share you own in Coca-Cola, they're going to pay you $3 for that. So if you own 10, they're going to pay you $30 for the whole year. Now in that whole year, they might break it down per quarter. So that is how you make money, through dividends in stock market. And then you make money also through appreciation. When you bought a share for $100 and you want to sell it at 120, you've made $20 appreciation. Now in real estate, you also have dividends and appreciation, but you have something beautiful called depreciation. Sure. That is why real estate is just the master of the whole game. When you master real estate, you've mastered the whole game. Now, this is how your 100,000 is going to behave, because for you to do the accurate comparison, apples to apple comparison, you have to do the after-tax value of your returns. So that stock that you bought is going to be taxed at an ordinary rate, right? But your real estate, number one, this is what the magic, right? So you bought a house for 100,000. The house appreciated to appreciated by 20,000. It's now worth 120,000, right?
Yeah.
And then the government gives you something called depreciation, because the government, they use taxes and tax credits and all that to encourage some behaviors or to punish some behaviors. So there's something called cigarette tax. So if you smoke cigar, you're actually paying additional tax to the government. Why is the government doing that? Because they want lesser people. They want to, it's more like the cane or carrots, right?
Yeah.
If they want to encourage you, they give you more of this or lesser of that, right? So with real estate, the government gives you something called depreciation. So actually, if you bought a house for 200,000, they give you 30 years to depreciate your house. So every year, you take some part of that money you invested and deduct it from your taxes, you know. So instead of you paying taxes on that 100,000 you invested, you actually have to depreciate it. Obviously, you have to meet your CPA and all that. You depreciate it, and that lowers your tax basis. It lowers your tax basis. So assuming you are depreciating, but you have to do it only on investment properties, not your first home or not your primary residence, right? So only on investment home or any investment property that you have, because the government is trying to encourage investments, you know. So that's why they are giving depreciation on all these properties. So this is a tutorial. It's a masterclass that we have to do on it. But I just want to give you guys an overview of where your money should be going. Real estate is a good store of value, and that's what I want your audience to remember. You know, people actually invest in gold. Do you know?
Yeah.
So people go and buy watches that are gold, right? Or even buy rings or jewelries that are gold, because a gold is a good store of value, right? So with that gold, if I bought 1K gold, $1,000 gold chain, I can sell it in the future maybe for 1,200. You see that your value has been stored till that time in the future. So look for investment that are good store of value. Real estate is a good store of value. Life insurance is a good store of value. Some stock and shares, they are good store of value. So what I educate people is to diversify. So I have one of my legs into stock market. I have one of my legs into real estate. I have the other leg into life insurance.
Talking about investment, so for people back in Nigeria, Africa to be precise, what do you think are the investments they can make? Because like here, you talked about real estate, you talked about, back then, it's really difficult for people to make those investments because there are no jobs. So what's your advice for people back in Africa on areas they can invest in and in order to build their financial future?
So every market is different, right? Every market is different, and you have to really sit down and look at the economy. So in America, I would consider it almost stupidity not to use loans in this country, right?
Yeah.
Because what are loans? Joyce, I can use 100,000 to control an asset that is worth 1 million. So if I save up 100,000, I can go buy a business that is generating good amount of revenue that is worth 1 million. So in this country, America, you have to learn how to use loans. But in Nigeria, it's not like that. In Nigeria, you have to save up that 1 million to be able to do it. But one thing I'll tell people is that the principles of finances, they are the same wherever. Whether in Qatar, whether in Dubai, in Nigeria, United States, the principle, they are the same. But the application is different based on the culture, your geography, everything. Learn about the principles of finances. Today, I have been praying, Joyce, that God will show me a business that I'm going to buy in this country. That answer came today.
Wow.
That answer came today. Why? Because my thought frequency has been on the search. I have been on the search mode. I've been on the internet looking for business, but something clicked for me today. So you see, you have to, after learning the fundamentals, you have to learn to solve the value, to solve the problems and create value for the economy that you are in. So how I do that will be different in Nigeria.
True.
Right? So what I advise people, look at the economy where you are and start thinking, one day the problem that you are going to solve will click in your mind if your mind is reasoning at that frequency, just like it did for me today. You understand? Yeah. So in Nigeria, because I am not very vast in Nigeria, I can tell you some of the things that you can do is to try and acquire skills. If possible, find a skill that will be paying you in international currency, in dollars.
Yeah, you can actually do forex trading too.
Exactly. I'm not vast in forex trading, right? Because it's still based on the volatility of the market and all that.
Talking about this, I see in Africa there is a rise of a great hub of people in cryptocurrency, and I think that's a very, for people who really understand the market, crypto is one area that you should really consider looking into. But I'm going to share my story because, like, summer of 2020, that was during the pandemic issue, and then somebody introduced me to crypto, and you know the excitement of when somebody actually tells you that, oh, this thing is nice and all, and so I bought some. And then I slept one evening, and I know when you get, just like when you have a new car, you always want to check the car, look at the tires, and then, so I was really, I opened my Robinhood account, I'll look at it, I'm like, okay, let's wait, let's see, maybe by next week the money will double up, and I just woke up one morning and I just realized that I think it was about $1,000. The money had dropped to about $500. If you see, I began to have palpitations. My heart was pounding. I was like, I cleaned my eyes because that was the first time I was getting to learn how to trade crypto. And I was like, what's happening here? I looked at my phone. I thought maybe I restarted my phone, and I actually saw that it was really half of the money gone. Out of fear, I was like, I sold the remaining 500 I had left so that I would know that at least I still have 500.
Yeah.
But I think about 2 weeks later after then, I found out that same crypto just went up sporadically. I think that was the point in 2020 where crypto really went really far, and I felt so bad. So I called the guy who introduced me. I was like, look at what happened, bro. And I was like, no, you don't sell when the market is down, you hold. And then that was when I had to sit down. And that brings me to what you said about having to research about an investment, not just because you said, real estate is good, okay, let me go and start looking for where to buy a house. No, because you have to actually look at location too. Location too matters. So even when you want to take up all of this advice that he has given out, like investing in crypto, in stocks, investing in real estate, investing in life insurance, you have to do your own due diligence of having to go and study. You said you need to study yourself for yourself, and because all these things you are sharing is because you did your own research. You didn't just wake up one morning and start saying, let's go invest in real estate. You studied the market for yourself, you did your own personal research, and then that's what has been able to make you make wise financial investment. So I want to encourage people, anyone viewers listening, that it's very important that you go study. And he has already highlighted most of the areas, so it makes it easy. So you're not looking anymore like, where should I go and invest? Or somebody has told you, okay, invest in life insurance, invest in real estate, and invest in stocks. So now what you should do is take that bold step of looking at what stocks should I invest in. When you talk about real estate, where should I narrow it down to? And life insurance, what are the plans and options I can start looking at? And I don't know if they currently sell life insurance in Nigeria, because I know that at a particular point in time, I started seeing some companies come up with selling life insurance. Do you think that's something people?
There are life insurance companies everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, it might not be affordable for some people. It might not make sense for some people, but there are life insurance, like it's an international business. And mind you, it started from the Roman days, right? So it has gone through several generations, right? So they can look for life insurance in Nigeria. Okay. There's something there.
Okay, I think the last questions that we're asking you will be, how do you recommend people stay informed about the latest trends in investment and investment opportunities?
So staying very current, right? Just like I said before, what are the perhaps one or two investment vehicles that you want to stay abreast with information with? Then you have to become a student. You have to become a student. There are news out there, CNBC, they are great for stock market traders and all that. If you want to learn about real estate, number one, you have to find a local group that is invested in real estate where you live. Right? So that was how I got into apartment investing. So we buy big apartments like this and we rent it out to people, we manage the property, and then we sell it out, right? So we actually have a deal in San Antonio that we're, by God's grace, going to be closing this month, right? So the idea is that you have to key in to that particular area where you want to invest. So for my apartment investing, I signed up for some of like newsletters, and they're sent to me, right? And there are some people called general partners that I invest in real estate with. And so what happens is that every month they send us newsletters. They tell us how the market is doing. Okay, how the loan and everything is doing, what is the Fed doing about interest rates and all that. So by that, I'm staying very current and subscribe to podcasts like this, like also financial podcasts. This is how you stay aflame or abreast with information on what is going on out there, right? The other thing is that you have to go out and meet people who are doing the same thing that you want to do. That's going to be a huge encouragement to you as a person. When you see somebody already doing what you want to do, you are going to be encouraged. Ask them for their business cards, ask them to go out on lunch or dinner or whatever, coffee, drinks and all that. But build your network. Build your network from there, right? Because one day you are going to be discouraged and you're going to need wisdom from somebody. Right? So
that's true.
That's how you stay current with information.
So talking about, you said something about listening to podcasts and all. So John has a YouTube channel and he talks more on investment. So you could check him out on YouTube. His name YouTube. What's your name? What's your ID?
Chukwuka John.
Chukwuka John. So please, if you want more insight on making the right financial investment, you could actually check him out on YouTube. So thank you so much, John, for today's episode. I myself, I think I got one or two from what you said today, and I'm glad that we have young Africans like you in this generation, because we're in a generation where a lot of people want to spend. They just want to spend and enjoy. But people like you who are actually making right financial investment and not just making that decision, making that investment, you're actually sharing this information to actually enlighten other people. So that's I really, really applaud that for you. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. And I'm looking forward to have you, because I know you are a very busy person, and getting that time slot to invite you on today's episode was really kind of hectic, but I'm looking forward to an opportunity where we can have you come around again and share more in-depth knowledge to the viewers. So thank you very much for listening, and don't forget, it's Rise and Thrive, Rejoice. Rise and Thrive, Rejoice. See you next week. It's love for me.
Cheers.
Bye.